Welcome to School of Power, and where I teach you about the necessity and the possibilities of power, why power is necessary, and what power can help you to achieve on earth. And you must understand that it requires power for you to live, to lead, to make decisions that can affect families, affect generations, affect society. You need power to change the way people do things, the way people think. You need power to do that. And that is where this teaching becomes important. Now, this is part two of it, and I'm focusing on the process of power. The process of power. And I will focus on apprenticeship, mentorship, and access. You must understand that power is learned. You learn power, you transfer power, and you build power. So there are institutions and systems that have been in existence that can help you to learn power, transfer it, and equally to build power structure, power base. In the book of Proverbs 13, verse number 20, the Bible says, "He that walks with the wise shall be wise. He that walks with the wise shall be wise." So let me read the scriptures for you in details. In the book of Ecclesiastes 4, verse number 9 to 12, there's a two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him. Again, if two lie together, then they have the heat. But how can one be warm alone? How can you learn power alone? You need somewhere to learn power from. From your father, your mother, your brothers, your siblings, your loved ones, your family, mentor. You need somebody that has understood power to mentor you. That is where this book becomes necessary. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. In the book, you see where by means of mentorship, a son of a nobody became somebody. So power is learned by association, by mentorship. And then in 2 Kings 2, verse 1 to 15, "And it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah," this is the story of Elijah and Elisha, how Elisha learned the secret of power, how to wield power, how to acquire power from his mentor Elijah. So there is apprenticeship. Even David learned the secret of power from Saul. When he was with Saul in the palace, there were things that he picked along the way. So it's important to understand that power is learned, power is acquired, power is transmissible. You can acquire the principles that made somebody powerful, the secrets, the principles, the system that people build to preserve power, to acquire power, to use power. These are something that are learnable and equally transferable. And then in Luke chapter 16, verse 8, "And the Lord commended the unrighteous steward because he had done wisely, for the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light." So there are people that have understood the secret of power, how to wield power, how to acquire power, financial power, political power, economic power, to gain leverage. And these are people that we all call that these are sons of darkness. But the Bible says they are wise in their own generation, and the wisdom that they acquire from society, they deploy it in gaining influence, in gaining advantage over those who are the children of light. And that is why it is important for you to understand power, how to get it, and how to use it for the good of society, for the good of humanity. Everybody that you see making influence, making relevance, making achievement, they achieve all these things on the basis of power. Power is never bad. Power is good. But how you use it is what matters. So power does not fall from heaven like rain. It's not something that falls from heaven. It flows through relationships, through systems, and through proximity. These are the channels by means of which power flow. Moses learned power in Pharaoh's house. Do you think that Moses was the most qualified person on earth that time? But the truth is that he was the most qualified because he grew up in the house of Pharaoh, understood astrology, understood every system that made Pharaoh to be great, the ancient systems that preserve power in the lineage of Pharaoh for generations. He has learned it, he has understood it. And that is why when it became time for him to lead the children of Israel, he was able to judge 6 million people. He was able to lead 6 million people by the wisdom he has acquired from the house of Pharaoh. Because don't forget, you need wisdom to handle power here on earth. Because what is earthly needs earthly system to handle it. It is an earthly system. And it's what we use. You have to learn it. He had to go to the house. God has to position him to become a prince for him to be able to know how to lead. The institution of Pharaoh is an institution that lasted for over 1,000 years. And so, for Moses to be planted in that institution, he was able to acquire the secret, the principle of power acquisition, power maintenance, and power distribution. He was able to distribute power to other 70, and he was equally able to know how to mentor because he was also mentored in the house of Pharaoh. So if you are not taught, you can't teach others. If you are not in a place where power is used, you can't know how power is used. And that's why, like doctors, before you become a medical doctor, to be given power to determine what is wrong with human body, or to become a psychologist, to be given power to determine what is wrong with the minds of men, you must go through apprenticeship, through different kinds of physical training, practical training, where you are exposed to the use of power in the physical and natural setting. That is how it is, and that is how it operates. David learned power in the court of Saul, in Saul's court. Joseph learned power in the house of Pharaoh, and equally while in Potiphar's house, while in prison, he understood how to acquire power. Even Jesus submitted. He submitted to others in the early days of his ministry. Luke chapter 2, verse number 52. He submitted to the ministry of John. A child who does not sit at the feet of elders will sit at the feet of shame. That's the proverb from Africa. A child who does not sit at the feet of elders will sit at the feet of shame. So it is at the feet of elders, those who know it more than you, that you learn how to acquire power, how to use power, and you can equally know the weaknesses, the failure. You can study, you study them, you know the weaknesses, you know the mistakes they've made, and for you not to repeat a similar mistake. So the process of power, number one, is apprenticeship. Learn how power works. In fact, there are many political and traditional royal system that when a child is born, he is taken to the court, and there he learns practical ways by means of which power is used. Practical. It's not a theory. It's not you go to school and you are taught. No, practical. You sit with the king. You observe how he walks, how he talks, how he judges, how he handles issue, how he carries himself. These are the things that you learn. So apprenticeship. Then mentorship gives you access to the mind of power, to the psychology of power. Because when you have access by means of apprenticeship, then you have a mentor, then you study how power is used practically, the psychology of power, and then by means of relationship, you understand how power flows. And number one, power flows through trust. Trust is important. For people to give you power, they have to trust you. For people to submit to your power, they have to also trust you. So it's important. And then finally, institutional alignment. Power is preserved by systems. And that is why you see that a government will come and go, but the system that preserve the power are maintained even when there's no president. Every system is built to maintain power. Even in family, there must be a system. Father is there, mother is there, the firstborn, secondborn. The structures are put to maintain power at every level. So then you must understand that power hates isolation. You can't grow in power alone. You can't know how to wield power without mentorship, without association. Power is not something of isolation. Lone wolves don't rule nation. And you can look at during in Nigeria, for instance, I studied the structure of Nigerian political power, and I discovered that there was a season that the late President Buhari, Muhammad Buhari, tried to become president of Nigeria, but he couldn't until he had to associate with Tinubu. There was alignment of forces, before he was able to succeed. So every powerful man is backed by structures and systems. Any man that is powerful today, there are structures and systems that help to back them up. So it is important to understand that power is acquired, is transferable, is transmissible, is something you can learn. When you find yourself around great people and around mighty people, don't just go after what they have, the physical things they have. Go after what makes them who they are. Go after what made them. It is if you're able to capture what makes them, that thing you capture is what we call it make you. So, but there are people that when they find themselves around the corridors of power, and when I'm talking about power here, it is not necessarily only political. Anytime you find yourself in a place, in an organization, in a company, in a setting you are working, and you are not the toppest, you are not the head, you are not the founder, you are not the head, you are also submittable. You submit to other authorities higher than you. The people you submit to, learn from them. The people that are ahead of you, turn them into your mentors. Go close to them. Learn from them. The way they talk, the way they walk, the way they do things, the way they project power, the way they carry themselves, the books they read, the things they listen to. Be focused to identify the things that made them who they are, the books they study, the friends, the circle of friends they have, the people that they hold in high esteem, the people that they respect. Study the people they also respect, because that is equally where they draw their power from. That's where they draw inspiration. That's where they draw their source. So understand the source of power. Go for the source, understand it, understudy it. So you must be a student of power, either political power, military power, any kind of power, because it takes power for you to be relevant. It takes power for you to create system. It takes power for you to even be remembered. It takes power. And listen to me. You may have a biological father who does not understand power. Please, let him be your biological father. Look for other power-based fathers, people that will mentor you in the wielding of power, in the wielding of influence, people that can mentor you to look at life from a power-based system. If your father does not understand the dynamics of power, the principles of power, application of power, the psychology of power, how power is acquired, how power is used, how people make themselves powerful, relevant, spiritually, material, in every aspect of life, in the seven mountains of life, if your father does not know how to acquire power, hold on to power, use it for the betterment of humanity, leave him alone. Let him be your biological father. Go and search for other fathers. Go and search for other fathers. And when I'm talking about father, I'm not talking, somebody can father you without being close to you. Somebody can father you by the books they have written, by the audios they have in the public space, by going close to them. Please, I want you to be my mentor. I want you to, I have seen this, I have seen that in you. I want you to be part of my life, a part of my journey. And sometimes you must not even tell people. You can submit to their philosophy, submit to their ideology without proximity. It is also a part of fathering. What your biological father does not lack or doesn't have to give you, get it from other fathers. Get it from others. And there will be nothing written on your forehead that this system, I acquired it from A, B, C, or D. What is your circle of influence? What is your cycle of influence? Where do you draw your influence from? There are many people that were able to build institutions, systems, put structures today, and they are still here with us. Their words are here with us. They are physically here with us. And the issues with many is that who lack the understanding of the school of power. They just believe that everything just happened like that, and then they just look at life from the surface value. If you look at life from the surface value, you have no legacy. You will exist at the surface because power exists at the deepest structure of humanity. Power exists at the deepest structure of humanity, the deepest. In fact, power is the foundation of humanity. It is the platform upon which everything revolves. Everything revolves. And so understanding the psychology of power, how it is acquired, how it is learned, how it is used, becomes imperative, important if you must leave legacy, if you must be a leader. There are people that are comfortable with being at the base of humanity. And for me, followers exist at the base because followers are people who have power, but they don't know how to use it. So they have to willingly hand over the agency of thought, the agency of existence, the agency of self to others to mediate it, to navigate it, to operate it for them. So a follower is a person who has power but does not know how to use it. So he has to hand over the power to a leader who uses the power for him. That is how it is. A follower is just a person who has power but doesn't know how to use it. You have like a person who has a weapon but does not know how to use the weapon. So he has to hand over the weapon to somebody to use it for him. That is the system of power. The system of leaders and followers. And so long as you are a follower, you will always be at the mercy of the leader and of the leaders. And until you have risen to leadership level, you will not know how easy this life is, how easy, how sweet, how smooth this life is until you have risen to the level of leadership. It is only leaders that know the value of life, the sweetness of life, the importance of existence without struggle. It's only leaders. So at every point in time, you must desire, aspire, and do everything possible to be at the leadership level, because that is where power lies, that is where power operates, that is where power flows. Now look at it. They say democracy is government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But to me, democracy is a system of government whereby the people carry their power, the power they have, they take it at the ballot box and they hand over the power to others to use it for them. And then they return to their farms, they return to their shops, they return to other things. And then the leaders are there wielding the power for the people. So it is like 1/10, the one empowered to control power for the nine. Now, so long as the one out of the 10 are controlling power, they have to live in a house that is lighted every day. When they have to fly private jet, and when they are flying the private jet, they're flying it for you. They travel to any country of their choice. Their children can go to any school of their choice because they are the leaders. Look at founders of companies, founders of churches, founders of ministries. Look at their life and look at your own life. Number one, they were human beings like you. And then they started a system. And by the means of that system, as you come to that atmosphere, you relinquish your power, your agencies of thought, agencies of religion, agencies of belief. You handed it over. And as you hand it over, you bring your offering, your tithe, and they write books, you buy other things, you connect, you do this, you do that. And by means of it, you empower the founder, you elevate him, he goes up, and you remain down. He flies in private jet for you. He and his wife, the children, the school abroad, they travel anywhere they want to, but your own children cannot. So eventually, you submit, you hand over everything to your leader. And as you've handed over, the power becomes theirs and you are down. So that is how it is. So at every point in time, aspire to be an inventor, innovator, leader, founder. Aspire to found something, create something, do something, build system, build institutions. These are places where power is preserved and they serve as your source of influence. See you at the top.